Yeah, I'm scared to ask for help. But the question isn't like why. Why would I be scared to ask for help? You know, if you're asking me, the real question should be like, why shouldn't I be scared to ask for help? Because if you were to watch the film on my life just to see everything that's happened to me in my life, you'd be like, I can see why you're scared to ask for help, Because I think back to times as a kid where I would ask for help and either get punished or get ignored and essentially just wind up regretting that I ever asked for help in the first place because I was ashamed for asking. I was shamed for asking for help. I was made to feel ashamed for showing weakness. But the thing is, like, if you're a parent, you're supposed to encourage your child to show their weakness so that you can help them. But like when your requests for help have been ignored or deflected or the requests have been shamed, and this has happened hundreds of times over the course of 18, 20 years, you know, why would anyone expect me to start asking for help all of a sudden? Like, how am I supposed to really have a accurate gauge on who to trust when the people I was supposed to trust the most in my life did me the most harm? Like, it completely messes up your compass for who to trust and who not to trust. Completely. Because you can never really tell, because it's not like my parents never helped me. There were some times when they genuinely did help me, but there were always these strings attached. Like, oh, hey, I'll help you with this as long as you don't disappoint me. Don't disappoint me. Don't make me feel like a disappointed parent. Don't disappoint God. And just the way that all of it was put together made it feel like they didn't actually want to be helping me. They were like helping me because it was begrudgingly they were helping me. But, if you actually care about someone, you should just be helping them for the sake of helping them. You don't really care if they're going to give you a speech to just praise you for all your help. You don't really care if they do that or not, if they give you this immense amount of applause. All you care about is the fact that your help is effective. Because you just want to help them for the sake of them getting better. You don't necessarily... you don't want to help them. It's not like you help them just so long as they don't forget about you. Just so long as they help you back. Because that's not truly like helping someone. That's not truly helping not just someone, but helping a kid. You should be helping your child because you want to help your child, not because you're expecting something in return. But the nice thing is, if you do actually help your kid without expecting something in return, you actually will get something in return. You're going to have a great relationship with your kid. And that's the foundation for an infinite amount of rewards that you're going to get from that help that you gave them. But I was just always made to feel guilty for having needs and having wants as a kid. I want to buy some clothes. I want to go shopping. I'm made to feel guilty, like I'm greedy for wanting to own a new shirt, for wanting to have a shirt that I picked out for myself. Like, I'm made to feel like that's an evil thing to do. That's how I was made to feel. Like, I was made to feel guilty for wanting things for Christmas for wanting a lot of toys. Like, why wouldn't I want that? So then whenever this happens, hundreds of times, you start to just kind of think that you don't really deserve to be helped, or that you just accept that help isn't coming, or that you're unhelpable, or that your wants, your desires are just not important. Your desires are the problem. That's what the problem is. When in reality, the problem is that your desires never got fulfilled. The desires aren't the problem. You don't get to pick your desires. You just have these desires built into you. Your desires are who you are as a person. Your desires shine a light onto who you are as a person. Like, if we all wanted exactly the same things, everyone would be exactly the same. So desire is actually a beautiful thing. It's not something that's meant to be shamed. Like, I think if you want something, it's pretty much always a reasonable thing to want. And I think the reason that we have religions like Buddhism is what comes to mind, where desire is seen as the root of all suffering. I just think I think the reason you would believe that if you spent your whole life just never getting the things that you wanted. And so as a way to cope with that grief of never being allowed to have the things that you want, you just teach yourself that, desire is the root of all suffering. It's the desire that's the problem. Well, no, the desire isn't the problem. Not having your desire fulfilled is the problem. Like, there's nothing wrong with desiring to be in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with desiring to have loving parents. Like, what is wrong with that desire? There's nothing wrong with desiring to feel better. Like, having that desire is what motivates you to actually get better. Like, what's wrong with the desire to have a clean asshole? Nothing. That desire to have a clean asshole is what makes me wipe my ass after shitting. So you can't tell me that desire is a bad thing. You just overlooked the desires that you're already fulfilling. The desires that you've already decided are okay desires. And the desires that you think are, bad desires are probably the desires that you just never were given the means to fulfill. The desires that were never met. Either because of, economic reasons, your circumstance, your parents, your environment. So then you just kind of accepted your fate. You just took the shit like a bitch. You're just like, oh yeah, I actually don't want a motorcycle anymore. Even though you really do want it. You just lie to yourself and tell yourself that, desire is the problem. The desire for the motorcycle is the problem. Not the fact that I was barred from getting a motorcycle. And so the reason people do that is because they're basically afraid of being wrong. They always need to find a way of, proving how they're right in some way. Even though they couldn't get that motorcycle that they really wanted, it's actually okay because wanting things is bad. Even though wanting things isn't all bad, because you could probably find things that they want that are actually good. Like wanting food. That's a good desire. It keeps you alive. And wanting a motorcycle is also a good desire. It keeps you happy. It puts you beyond just surviving. It puts you beyond just scouring for food. It pushes you into actually enjoying life. So yeah, it actually is an important desire to have those just random things that you want. Those are important as well. But, if you, as a kid, if you were shamed for being wrong, if you were never allowed to be wrong, if you were shamed for failing, instead of failure just being seen as like normal, just like missing a shot in basketball, like it'd be ridiculous for LeBron James' coach to just start beating the shit out of him because he missed a jump shot. Like, no, that's part of the game, you know. But some kids, you know, were raised to be ashamed of messing up. And so you learn that, okay, messing up is not acceptable. So I have to always find a way to be right, to paint every failure as a success. So even though I didn't actually get this desire that I wanted, that's okay, because I was actually right all along. All along I knew that I didn't actually want this motorcycle. It was actually, the desire is actually the bad thing. I don't actually want a motorcycle. And they're delusional. You're lying to yourself. You still want the motorcycle. You're just trying to find a way to cope with the fact that you can't get it. Or maybe the ability to have a motorcycle was just taken from you. You were wronged. And so instead of just admitting that you were wrong, instead of just admitting that you were wronged, admitting that you failed, you always had to find the silver line to figure out how you were right. Instead of just admitting, no, you were completely wrong. There is no silver lining. Not even every cloud has a silver lining. Not all clouds are silver. Like, you telling me every single cloud you've seen has been silver? You've never seen a perfectly white cloud? Not every. It's like every cloud has a silver lining. No, it actually does. They actually don't. Not all clouds are silver. Not all clouds are gray. Like, there's just literally some sayings that people just repeat like that. And if you actually just like write this, if you just look at the saying on a piece of paper, you realize the saying itself is actually not even, it doesn't even make sense. It's not even true. But then people just copy and paste that saying into other things in life. Like, oh, like there's always a bright side, you know, every rose has its thorn and every thorn has its rose. Like, as a way of saying the bright side. No, not everything has a bright side. Like, yeah, sometimes there's a rose at the end of the thorns, but sometimes it's just more thorns. Like, if you've ever just been in the woods, you know that there's just thorns for the sake of thorns. And there's no rose. It's just more thorns and more thorns. It's not like, oh, every rose has its thorn. No, it's like every thorn has its thorns. You know? And so that's what I don't like about an ideology like Buddhism. That's why I don't like spirituality, is because it tries too hard to be optimistic. It tries too hard. Like, you should not, like, why do you need to be optimistic? Like, you wouldn't, I say this all the time, and this is kind of like, I think, my trademark philosophy here, my trademark thought process. And that's if you're having to tell yourself to be optimistic, you're lying to yourself. You're actually not optimistic, you know, because if you were actually genuinely optimistic about the situation, you wouldn't be having to tell yourself to be optimistic. You would just be being optimistic, you know? So why are you lying to yourself? You know? Because, like, if I'm waking up and having to tell myself to be optimistic, I'm definitely not feeling good. I'm definitely having a horrible time. We should always strive to just be 100% realistic. Like, why would you want anything else? Because if you're actually living a life that's just naturally full of optimism, then you don't actually need to be optimistic. You can just be realistic. And then by being realistic, you're going to be living in your reality of optimism, right? So there's actually no need to remind yourself to be optimistic if your reality is already optimistic. The only reason you need to tell yourself to be optimistic is if your reality is actually shit. If your reality is actually pessimistic. In which case, you don't need to lie about it, you know? The more that you just lie to yourself about your pessimistic situation being optimistic, the longer you're just going to be stuck in that situation. No, you got to actually acknowledge the fact that your life is shit and do something about it, you know? It's like, and it pisses me off. It really does piss me off. And it's like, it actually is a big deal to me, this positive thinking bullshit, because It's just disingenuous. You're ignoring the reality of my feelings. You're looking past my wounds. You're just not acknowledging my emotional wounds. You're not acknowledging my pain. I'm not like, if it's like whenever you're telling someone about how shitty your life is and they start trying to solve it for you, or they start trying to tell you to look on the bright side of things. Like, that's very disingenuous, and that's a sign of someone that's emotionally unintelligent, or just doesn't care about you, or they're oblivious about how you actually feel. Because it's not that I don't know how to fix my situation. It's that I'm not a robot. It's that I have feelings, and these feelings are what make life what life is. These feelings are what make me me. And by not acknowledging my feelings, you're not acknowledging me. You're not acknowledging me as a person. Like, I need you to listen to how I'm feeling. Because how I feel is more important than the solution, honestly. You acknowledging how I feel is more important than the solution. Because we're not going to get to the solution without me being in touch with my feelings. Like, what would be the point in me even solving my problem if I still haven't solved my emotions? Then have I really solved the problem? No. So the easy way to solve any problem really is just to solve your emotions first. Deal with the emotions. And then you don't have any problems anymore. There's not any problems anymore. Because problems are like, problems are an emotional thing. If you take emotions completely out of your life, you suddenly have no more problems. But you also don't have any I don't know, what is the opposite of a problem? Success, I guess. You don't have any successes. Like, you can't just, like, if you take emotions out of it, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be depressed. But I think there's definitely a lot of people that they are relentless optimists, which I don't think is a good thing. Why would that be a good thing? Why are you so afraid of being a pessimist? Why are you so afraid of seeing the downside to things? Yeah, things can get better, but things can also get worse. There's nothing necessarily wrong with acknowledging that. Because, like, being a relentless optimist means you're basically relentlessly suppressing pessimism. You're just relentlessly refusing to see the bad side of things, which is not good. That's not a good thing to do. People seem to think that that's good, just to never see the downside. No, you actually do need the downside. You do need to acknowledge risks. You do need to acknowledge your pain. Because otherwise you get to the finish line, and yeah, you probably do actually achieve the thing you wanted to achieve, but you just feel hollow and you feel empty. Because the only way to actually feel good, which is what you're striving for, you actually just want to feel good. You might think that you want to actually achieve X, Y, Z, but you actually just want the feeling that you get from it, achieving X, Y, and Z. But you can't do that if you don't mend the wounds inside of you. Like, mending and healing the wounds inside of you is what actually gets you the feeling that you're striving for. And so you're actually doing it all backwards by trying to get the feeling by ignoring your feelings, It doesn't actually make sense. It can be addicting. It can definitely be addicting to, ignore your feelings and get the little buzzes from every successive success. But I think there genuinely are people like that post on social media who actually are like reasonable people for the most part, who actually do acknowledge the downsides to things, and they do actually acknowledge their pain, but they only ever post the optimistic side of things on their Instagram, So then Other people see that and they might think, oh, well, they just never acknowledge the downside to things. I guess that I should do the same thing. I just shouldn't acknowledge the negative realities of my life. I should just ignore them because that's what this other person seems to be doing. Because some people definitely do have less negatives in their life than other people, but everyone has negatives in their life to some degree. Everyone gets frustrated over something. And so, if you weren't an emotionally mature person and you saw that no one ever posted the negative sides of their life, you might just think that it's not normal to have negative sides of your life, and you might become like basically a manic person, or like you might have like dissociative personality disorder. Just like you would develop these disorders by refusing to acknowledge things that bother you because you think that other people don't do that, or you think that it's going to slow you down. But the reality is, yeah, it is going to slow you down. But it's not an effective strategy in life to constantly be going full speed. Like, can you tell me any situation where that's a good idea? Like, it's not a good idea to do that in a car. It's not a good idea to do that like in any sport. Like, you don't just go full speed all the time. Like, running backs don't do that. You got to have a change of pace. If you're a wide receiver, you don't just sprint your entire route. You got to change it up. If you're a basketball player, you don't just get the ball at the top of the key and try to sprint to the basket. You have to change things up. And even if you were having success by just sprinting to the basket at full speed every time, it's not going to last. Like, you have to slow down at some point. You're going to have to recover, So even those athletes that you do see that are going full speed, they're only going full speed for like, I don't know, 2 hours maybe, because that's how long the game lasts in like real measured minutes, maybe less than that. So they spend 1 or 2 hours out of that day going full speed. But what are they doing the other 22 hours? They're chilling the hell out. And they might even have the next 2-3 days off where they're not really doing anything that's as physically intensive as that sprinting they were doing before. And do you think it's a good idea for an athlete to ignore whenever they have just like a small pain in their toe? Like, it's just a small little cramp that they're getting. It's not really going away, but it's still there. Like, do you think it would be a good idea for them to ignore that? Obviously not. So, you need to be treating your life as if you're an athlete. Like, you're not an athlete necessarily in the physical sense, but in the mental and emotional sense, you are. You are a mental and an emotional athlete. Those are the things that are being tested every single day at every single job. Like, what do you know about your job? That's the mental aspect. Like, what is your knowledge? And then emotional is, how do you go about actually using your knowledge? How do you, like, what drives you? How do you deal with the setbacks? How do you interact with your coworkers? How do you interact with your boss? How do you deal with the stress? Do you get stressed? How do you deal with your emotions that come with the job? It's the emotional and mental aspects of it. And those are the two components that go into being a workplace athlete, being an average person, basically. It's those two things. It's not so much the physical. The physical is there, but it's just not quite as important as if you were an athlete. But people just neglect that. They just try to go full force all the time. Pop an Adderall, just give me some painkillers so I can keep going. You think that doesn't catch up with you? Why would you think that doesn't catch up with you? And if you think that, even if you feel like you're getting away with it, it's going to catch up with you if it hasn't already. And it's also going to affect your spouse negatively. It's going to affect your kids negatively, your grandchildren. It's going to affect the people that work underneath you or work with you negatively. It will. Because you can't just go full force and you can't just ignore the flashing lights on the dashboard and think that, oh, everything is fine. It's like people who put black tape over the check engine light on their dashboard. Has anything actually been fixed? I mean, yeah, actually, something has been fixed. You've fixed your short-term anxiety problem, but the misconception is that anxiety is a bad thing. Anxiety is not a bad thing. Anxiety is a good thing. You need anxiety. You shouldn't be trying to get rid of your anxiety. You should be trying to get rid of trauma. Because, the anxiety isn't just there for no reason. Just like the check engine light on your dashboard isn't there for no reason. So you should be trying to get rid of, the raccoon that is stuck under your hood that is causing your engine to not be able to ventilate itself, And in the same way, if you have chronic anxiety or chronic stress, you should probably examine the childhood wounds that you have stuck in your nervous system that you've just never acknowledged, You should probably acknowledge the fact that you never allow yourself to cry. You never allow yourself to sleep in. Like, why wouldn't you be stressed out all the time whenever you don't allow yourself to decompress? You don't allow yourself to cry. You don't allow yourself to sob. You don't allow yourself to weep and shake. Like, it's like not taking your car to the mechanic, not taking your car to get an oil change, and then being surprised when your engine has problems. I wonder why. And all of this is me talking at myself, really, my younger self, myself from 5 hours ago. But I really am still scared to ask for help, unfortunately, because I don't know that I can trust the people I'm asking for help. And I feel guilty. Like, I feel guilty asking for help because I feel guilty receiving things. Like, I feel like I don't deserve things. And that's such a horrible thing. And I know it comes from my childhood. Unfortunately, I can't actually remember most of my childhood. But it's such a horrible thing to raise a kid to feel guilty for wanting things. Like, if I had a kid, I want to give them everything they want. I want them to feel like they're deserving of having nice things. I want them to be bothered when they aren't getting things that they feel like are up to par or up to quality. But like, I'll have people literally just offer to do nice things to me, and I turn them down, partially because I feel guilty for receiving the nice things, but also because, there were times as a kid when I would get something nice, and then I would later be punished. Like, my parents would, they would regret giving me something nice, and they would get mad at me for having deceived them into getting me that thing that I wanted. And so I was made to feel guilty for them giving me something. It's really a trip. But the paradox is that the people who need help the most are usually the ones who don't ask for help at all. They're usually the ones who have been shamed into asking. They've been shamed out of asking for help. So, if you're a teacher in the classroom, if you're a manager in an office, the person there that probably actually needs the most help is the person who has never asked for help before and actually needs it. It's probably not the person that is always asking for help or always complaining about their situation. It's probably the person that's in that exact same situation but never asks for help because they're afraid to be seen as weak for asking for help. I think this is especially prevalent among guys. There's really just no... Honestly, there's not a ton of benefit in doing something yourself if you could just get someone to help do it for you. Because then, one, you get what you need immediately, and then two, you're able to see immediately like what you need to do to get that thing. Like they can just teach you how to do that yourself. Like maybe you need a place to stay because you got evicted. Like it's not actually that much better. It's not better to live in your car when you could actually be living with someone who would be willing to help you. Because one, you're going to have a nicer place to stay. Two, everything else really. You're going to be able to relax a lot easier. You're going to be able to actually focus on getting back on your feet more easily. There's no real point to just suffering alone if you don't have to. Like there definitely are times when you actually do need to suffer alone, but it's not always. Not always. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's not necessary. And the important thing is to realize when you actually don't need to suffer alone, when it's actually not necessary. Because there are times like when dealing with trauma, dealing with your own emotions, you kind of do have to do some of that alone, Not necessarily all of it, but there are things like no one can feel your feelings for you. In a sense, you are kind of always alone with your feelings. But I actually don't think that's true either. Because if you have good parents, you shouldn't feel alone with your feelings. But eventually there are going to come times when you are just alone with your feelings, and hopefully that doesn't feel like torture. Hopefully it feels like something that you're trained for, So I feel like honestly you should be suffering alone as little as possible. But I would say the times that come where you actually do need to suffer alone are the times when you don't know who to trust. And sometimes it's actually a good thing to not ask for help, to not trust other people. Sometimes that is actually a good thing, because if every single time you've asked for help from someone and they failed you or made you worse off than you were before, it doesn't really make much sense to keep asking them for help. It actually probably is better for you to just figure it out on your own in that situation until you can actually find someone that is trustworthy. So, that would actually be a situation where it actually probably is better to suffer alone whenever you're just constantly being failed by people who are telling you that they can help you, because chances are they might actually just be taking advantage of you. And that actually is a very real reality. That's a very real thing. And people who haven't experienced that will say like, oh, well, you should just ask for help. Like, why wouldn't you just ask me for help? Like, they don't understand that people will use your weakness, your need for help, to take advantage of you, to use their power over you. There's people that do that. Parents that do that. Family members that do that. So, suffer alone when you know that you have to, but also know that you don't have to do that every single time. Like, there are actually people out there that are trustworthy. And learn to start trusting yourself. That's the most important thing. If your gut is telling you not to trust someone, then I would actually say you shouldn't trust them. I think you need to have your back before you have anyone else's back. Like, you need to stand up for yourself before you stand up for other people. Trust yourself before you trust other people. But I guess the important thing is to realize that asking for help is not the problem. It's the people helping you. They're the problem. The people that have been deceiving you. When you were a kid, when you were an adolescent, when you were a teenager, all those times when you asked for help and they just ignored you. You asking for help wasn't the problem. Asking for help isn't the problem. The problem was the way they treated you. They were the problem, not you, not your request for help. So, I learned something there for myself just now. Like, It's not that I'm ashamed of asking for help, it's more so that I'm ashamed that I got deceived. I got taken advantage of. So I'm okay with asking for help, honestly, as long as I know that I'm not going to be taken advantage of. That's the hard part to figure out. As long as I can know that they're not going to try to get something later from me, they're not going to try to like profit from me by giving me help. Like they're not going to expect something from me later. I just don't like that feeling of having, because like when you actually do need help, it doesn't feel good to have an obligation hanging in the back of your mind, like, they're going to expect something in return because they're helping me. Like, when you really need help the most, you just want help for the sake of help. People to help you without expecting anything in return. And people who can't offer that, they should not be in the business of helping people, honestly. You shouldn't be in the business of having kids if you're not willing to help them without expecting anything in return, because kids don't really have much to offer in return. And all of the times I can remember, like, the most real acts of kindness are the times when people just give you something. They give you the help that you need without like burdening you with the need to reciprocate. Because then they're not like, if you're helping someone and then you're expecting them to help you back, you're not really helping them. You just kind of, you basically just locked them into a contract. And that's not really help. Like the whole pay it forward thing that people will do at restaurants or drive-thrus, the only way that that is worthwhile or good is if you're not expected to pay it forward to the person behind you. If you actually allow yourself to just accept the person paying it forward to you the first time. Like if the first person starts the pay it forward chain just for the purpose of starting a pay it forward chain, just so they can see how far it goes, then it's not really doing anything, you know? The only way that that really works, the only way that that really like serves its purpose is if they do it just for the sake of helping someone. Nothing in return, not trying to do some sort of social experiment, but just helping someone to help someone. And sadly, there's only a couple times in my life where I can actually remember anyone ever doing that for me. People just helping me because they wanted to, not because they wanted anything in return. Just because they were just doing it for the love of the game. And I think the way you can know that someone is just helping you for the sake of helping you just because they want to is when they don't really have a ton to gain from it. Like it's not really going to profit them that much by helping you in the short term. Like it actually is kind of an inconvenience to them. Like the thing that I think of is I always think of this guy. I used to work at Walmart and I worked in online grocery pickup, basically where we would fulfill the Walmart pickup orders and bring the things out to their car. And I'll never forget, honestly, like this guy, I think it was a hot day in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas. And, you know, I had finished loading his car with the groceries that he had ordered, and he just gave me a body armor drink because it was a hot day. And he just had a smile on his face and he just gave it to me. And that was it. You know, like, because like he wasn't it's not like he gave it to me before I loaded the car so that I would load it faster, you know. He gave it to me afterwards. And he didn't even know that he was ever going to see me again, you know. He was just doing it to be nice. And it was a nice gesture because it was something that that was actually going to benefit me immediately. Because I can think back to times when family members thought they were helping, or they kind of tricked themselves into thinking they were helping when they actually weren't. Like they thought I was stupid or something. Like I remember basically my family members just throwing money at me, like as if that was what I needed. Like I remember having an aunt and an uncle who for Christmas they would literally like run upstairs and just throw a $20 bill in the card and then just give it to me. And it was just disingenuous. It's like I could see how that would be funny, but not for a kid. It's just like, and to do it in front of a kid, it's just disingenuous. And like I could tell it was a card that they just got out of their closet, just like a random card, and they just threw a $20 bill in it, and they didn't even seal the envelope. It's like I would have rather just not have gotten a present. And it was just like my grandparents would kind of do something similar, and my parents as well. And it's like, do you actually know who I am? Like you literally cannot think of a single thing that I like. You can't you don't even know where I like to shop so that you could give me a gift card. And it's like, I don't want you to show me that you love me. I don't want you to show me that you care about me. I just want you to care about me. Like, I don't need you to try to put on some display, some sort of masquerade or show that makes it seem like you care about me. I want you to actually care about me, because then you would just naturally do that. It wouldn't be like a hassle for you. And I've talked about how I had to cut off my family. I've talked about that, previously. And the unfortunate reality of that is that it actually was a win-win. Like I've had to acknowledge the reality that they actually did not want me in their life at all. As much as they kind of thought that they did, they actually didn't. They actually did not have the capacity to care for me. They didn't. Like, you didn't really actually want a kid if you didn't want to take care of a kid. You just kind of wanted another accessory in your life. And so, by me leaving my family's lives, it's actually it's taken some, it's taken some pressure off of them, because, they never wanted the burden of having a kid. They never actually wanted that. And because having a kid is a burden. And it also kind of shined the light on some of their wounds emotionally that they had been patching up with obligations. They'd basically been using obligations and responsibilities as a way to ignore emotional pain or wounds, and trauma. So I actually did them a service, because now they have more time, more energy. They're going to have more pain. And it's going to remind them of all the wounds that they never healed. Because, maybe they think, they think, they probably think, and they still do think, that they were capable of being parents, or that they never really, or that they can just fix it, they can be better parents. When they just can't. They're very far from being good parents, from being a good family. They're very far from it. Like, they don't. That's the problem with some people that are emotionally ill, people with trauma and unhealed wounds, is they don't realize that they're traumatized. They think they're fine when they're not. And, sometimes you gotta kind of have a reverse intervention, where instead of confronting them about it, you just kind of drop off the face of the earth, and you force them to grapple with their pain and figure it out, because they're just hurting people too much, or they're just being too useless in other people's lives for anyone to even want to do an intervention for them. Like, it's not like, it would be different if it was a child, you know. Like, yeah, then you step in and you help the child. But when it's parents, when it's your parents or when it's your grandparents, when it's people that are 30 years older than you, you know, it's not my job to help you. That was your job to help me. And how does it make any sense for me to try to help you when you never helped me when that was your job, you know? It's like, if my boss screws me over, you know, and treats me horribly, underpays me, verbally abuses me, and then wonders, oh, like, well, why didn't you ever want to work some extra hours on this project that we have, you know? It's like, what are you talking about? No, you're supposed to take care of me. That's your job, is you're the employer. You know, you're the person above me, you take care of me. I take care of the people underneath me, and so on and so forth. And then when we do that, it all works out. You know, like, why would I expect a tree sapling to bear fruit whenever I never watered it and took care of it? Like, why would I expect that tree to grow up to provide fruit for me and to help me out, to satiate my hunger whenever I never took care of the tree? You know, it doesn't make sense. That's ridiculous. Because it was my job to take care of the tree. Just like it was my parents' job, my grandparents' job, my family's job to take care of me as a child. They didn't do that. I'm not going to provide fruit for them and reward them. That would be ridiculous. That's all for now.